involved in this right now. Cancellata tried, it wasn't to work. He's back in the pack now, and it looks as though Baden Cook is being lined up for this. The green jersey of Tom Boland, about 9 men back, just dodging away. Now comes a charge on the right from Leaky Gas. This is a desperate finish and dead straight.
Dead straight. This is the most beautiful finishing straight in the world if you're a sprinter, and that's exactly what they're trying to do for Baden Cook. They're trying to set him up. There's the red kite. Everybody's in there nice and safe. Still F de Jeu on the front there. Baden Cook will be in about 4th or 5th position. You can see as well the Licky Gas riders in the lime green are starting to warm it up there. You can see Big Maggie Backstead right in the middle. There is Jan Kursipu trying to lead out Thor Hushoff just over to the right-hand side.
Well, the lead out has been done by Thor Hushoff's team here, but he's not placed in yet. Kursipu has got second wheel, the champion of his country. He's on the left now. He's also picked up Thor Hushoff, who's got right in behind him. This is going to be a tough one. I don't think Boland's going to get out of this mess, and I'm not sure where Robbie is yet. Robbie McEwen is about 5 men back. He's getting a perfect lead out as they start to switch. Boland's got McEwen's wheel. A lot of dodging here, but what's Thor Hushoff and Jan Kursipu as they go on the left? Here comes Tom Boland now in the centre, being challenged by McEwen. This is a desperate move again, and Boland's got the head of the first with Sherwen O'Grady trying to break in. A little bit of a wobble. Boland has done it again, and that is an incredible second. What a sprint that was. Everybody bouncing off everybody's shoulders, and I thought for a moment Sherwen O'Grady was going to win it.
So Boonen takes another stage win. McEwen crossed the line second, but was relegated because of his shenanigans at the finish. So it's Peter Rolick in second, O'Grady in third, and young Australian Alan Davis. He's a talent for the future in 5th. The overall ranking was status quo. Zabriskie on top, Armstrong 2 seconds back, Vinokurov then, and Hincapie. That was expected to change after the team time trial. Highlights of that up next. Don't go away. Welcome back to our coverage of the 2005 Tour de France. Loving the sprinters and all the action they delivered to the finishes in the early stages, and they're going to have some more in this rest day coverage. They really are fun and great personalities here. Also, you have Robbie McEwen with the head thing and all that going on. Who do you like to finish in the green when this is all said and done?
I got a feeling, actually, that Tom Boonen is going to battle over the mountains. He's a big bike rider, but he has proved and confirmed, I think, here at the Tour de France that he is one of the top sprinters in the world. Got to say, it's a pity Alessandro Pataki's not here.
It is a pity, and he's obviously too afraid to come and take on Tom Boonen in his current form. Personally, if you want me to pick a winner in Paris, I'd love Sherwen O'Grady to win because he's been so close in the past. I think twice third, once second, and he's a great all-round bike rider.
All right, stay with us to watch how this all plays out. But as we're going to go to the team time trial now, what's at stake? Team CSC and Discovery were largely thought to go one-on-one.
Yes, the 2 strongest teams in the bike race are going to go head-to-head. The stakes are high. Ivan Basso needs time. Lance Armstrong loves to demolish his rivals, and the morale starting with the team time trial.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say a crash dramatically changes things, but watch the whole thing. It's really amazing. This is how Stage 4 played out in the Tour.
Well, Jan Ullrich now, the big start by Jan Ullrich, and they look across at each other. Gotland gets themselves organised very quickly here. It's a good team. Cloden was second in the Tour de France last year. Ullrich was 4th. Oscar Sevilla has been a star of Spanish cycling. Daniel Nardello, a hard man. So too Giuseppe Guerini and Matthias Kessler. The newcomer is Stefan Schreck. His brother Andy's not riding, who's also superb. They're on form. They've got to get it together today. It's important today for them.
Well, that's Cloden just taking up last position there. It's a big question as to how Cloden is going to perform here this afternoon, because as the man who finished second overall in the Tour de France last year, he's yet to show us, Phil, the form that's going to make him a podium challenger this year.
Leaky Gas Bianchi are the team that's setting the trends now out on course, as we now look here at the Crédit Agricole team. Just looking how they go here. Euskaltel Euskadi still the best time at the finishing line today, and Lamprey are in with second best time. AG2R have the third best time at the moment. As we swing back 25 kilometres to the start house here, 2 teams left to go. I make it about 2 minutes now before these boys get underway. 5 minutes to 4, Domina Vacanzi arriving. It might be a good time this. They're threatening Leaky Gas at the checks. They're not going to get the better of them yet, but they're not far off the pace here, as Domina Vacanzi going through and looking at around about second fastest. Well, that's Tamina Vacanzi, Paul, and they've been challenging the leaders. Now they're looking down to challenge Devitaman Lotto. It looks as though they might be slowing down a little bit here because they're slipping behind. And no, they've just got second spot, 48-41, only just.
Very important to dose your effort in the team time trial, because a big time gains can actually be made in the last 10 or 15 kilometers. That's Gonchar on the front. And there in the middle is the new Ukrainian national champion at the time trial, and that is Andrei Grivko. This, though, is Lance Armstrong. Today, the mask of the big days, the concentration, he almost seems to be staring up the road as far as he can to see whether or not he can spot the finishing line. And strangely enough, Phil, he's not wearing his glasses here this afternoon.
Interesting. Number one, the winner of the Tour de France for the past 6 years, looking for a 7th, which will put the record so far away, I think we'll need a pair of binoculars to ever see it again. Lance Armstrong now, that's the rider's eye view of the starting straight here in Tour. And he's aiming at times of around about an hour and 12 minutes at the moment. Looking here at Lance Armstrong as he held up on the start ramp, all 9 riders, the champions, not just of the Tour de France, but the champions of the team time trial for the past 2 years. Waits for the count. 5 minutes behind him comes Dave Zabriskie, another American leading a Danish setup. But right now, Armstrong is on his way, and the only other American on this squad is George Hincapie.
And the only man to accompany Lance Armstrong to every one of his victories in the Tour de France. And it's going to be very strange for George Hincapie when he wakes up on the first day of the Tour de France next year, because there will be no more Lance Armstrong. Armstrong has promised to retire, and he will retire on the 24th of July this year, win or lose the Tour de France.
So the Discovery Channel team is on the road, starting slowly, which is their trademark. But when they get it going, watch out. That's next, after the break. This is Al Troutwig. Welcome back to highlights from the team time trial and the first 10 days of the Tour de France. The riders have the day off. Before the stage, Paul Sherwen sat down with Armstrong. Here's what the Texan had to say.
I go back to '99 when people said, oh yeah, okay, Armstrong's won the Tour. Can the team defend? When I look at the team you have now, Jaroslav Popovic you're bringing in, Salvadelli, a 2-time Giro winner, that looks to me like the strongest team you ever put on paper.
Yeah, and I think, I agree. And then you throw in the guys we've had around, Tricky, Chechu, who I think are better than they were last year. Acevedo is at least as good as he was last year. George, look at the way he rode in the Dauphiné. Clearly he's better than he was a year ago. So I mean, the team is, I'm not worried about this team defending the jersey. I might be a little worried about the leader getting the jersey, but no, they know how to do their job.
The team time trial, so important to Lance Armstrong. We return to the action.
Well, we're swinging back down now. There is only one team left to go. Dave Zabriskie, a little introduction to the crowd, a little smile on his face. Will he be in yellow tonight? 2 seconds isn't much in the team time trial. Bobby Julich on the right there will help him. So too will Ivan Basso. Big effort. Don't get the start wrong. Gentle roll out and then dig in. Nice applause from the girls who have held them up on the line. There's the team. It's a good team, Paul. Basso, Lombardy, a former Olympic champion. Arvidsson, an under-23 world champion. Luke Roberts, a world champion and a record holder. No doubt about it, in this team for the team time trial. First tour for him.
And of course, let's not forget what Johan Brunel says about the man at the back there in the yellow jersey, Dave Zabriskie. He has the best aerodynamic position of any rider in the pro peloton. That's Bobby Julich, the very experienced Bobby Julich, taking them away from the starting house. So important to get yourself off to a nice, smooth start and not put everybody immediately into the red zone.
This is turning out to be a most interesting time trial now. We're still waiting for CSC to arrive. They're the last team to come through. Oh, we're going to switch up to the finish here. This is Quick-Step coming home. The white jersey of Michael Rogers, world time trial champion. They'll just about creep into 3rd or 4th place here as they drive on. As Kevin Hulsman swings off to the right. Big Tom Bonan is even going to sprint it out with his teammates as the big man comes through in first place again. No points for the green jersey, Tom. Maybe he didn't realise, Paul, but they hit the line, and it'll be the fifth man who will stop the clock. Look at that image of Tom Bonan. Fourth place then, 1:13.44.
Not a bad ride by Quick Step there, and Tom Bonan getting himself the sprint win, but that was only to lead the team home, I think. Just a question of pride. He is a magnificent team player, I have to say, Tom Bonan. Not only can he win the sprints, but he can also turn around and work things out for the team. But this is Team Fassa Bortolo looking at the second time check of the day, 21 kilometers to go. An average time for Fassa Bortolo, who I think today will find themselves slipping down a little bit in the overall classification.
Yes, I don't think we expect too much of Fassa today as they continue on the way. Fabian Cancellara might look for a good finish, or Juan Antonio Fletcher in the overall, or perhaps Dario Frigo, but this isn't a team to win the Tour de France this year. We'll know about them, though, as we continue on. They should grab a stage somewhere along the way. These are the boys who are really turning the tables upside down because Liberty Seguros is doing extremely well. Once they were called Once and they won the team time trial, and that was into Nantes, I think it was, a few years ago. They've done it twice, in fact, in the year 2000 when they beat US Postal by 26 seconds. And in 2002, they also beat US Postal by 16 seconds. Ouch.
You could say arch rivals, really, couldn't you? This is a great squad. It's good to see Liberty Seguros coming back up to the top of the sport, because last year they finished for them a lowly 7th place, but they did lose 3 riders on the run in towards the finish: Isidro Nozal, Angel Vicioso and Marcos Serrano. Today, though, they are still riding here, Phil, with 9 riders.
Well, we're still waiting for the rest of the riders to come through. There's only one team left to arrive now at kilometre 25. Remember, Liberty Seguros, followed by Discovery Channel, T-Mobile, Crédit Agricole. That's the order as they've gone through at the moment.
Good organisation for Team Discovery Channel here. As you can see, Armstrong was looking very much a concentrated bike rider there in about 5th position, wearing number 1, sitting right at the front of his saddle. That's a position to try and develop as much power as possible, but he's very aerodynamic, I have to say.
Well, they look extremely good, and they're slipping away just a bit.
The Discovery Channel team slowly ramping up the speed and reeling their rivals in. More action and a closer look at the team after the break. Welcome back to the Tour de France Rest Day Show. We're up to stage 4, the team time trial. All the teams are on course. CSC had the fastest early splits, but Discovery is reeling them in a coordinated team effort. For more on the team, here's Paul Sherwen with a team profile.
A new sponsor, new uniforms, a few new faces, but otherwise not much has changed for Lance Armstrong. He enters the 2005 Tour de France as the heavy favourite to win, surrounded by arguably the strongest team in the world. Added to the mix, his motivation to win the final race of his career, and we could have an unstoppable wrecking machine heading to the start line. But predicting the future based on the past has never been a reliable method. So what should we expect from this year's team? Returning to the lineup are 2 of Lance's key lieutenants from last year, Jose Luis Rubiera from Spain and Jose Acevedo from Portugal. Both of these men will shepherd Lance through the big mountain stages. American George Hincapie returns to block the wind, set up the tempo and power the team through the team time trial. Then there's the future of the team, 25-year-old Yaroslav Popovic from Ukraine. He will officially begin his Tour de France internship, preparing to take over leadership after Lance's retirement. Oh yeah, there's also this year's Tour of Italy winner Paolo Salvadelli riding in a support role. There's no other team with that kind of depth. The Discovery Channel Pro Cycling team is certain to make a statement at this year's Tour de France, and from the looks of it, America's newest cycling team is preparing well to begin life after Lance.
Discovery are the defending champs in the team time trial, so to speak, and won't give up without a fight. We return to the action.
This is Discovery Channel arriving at the second check of the day. Now remember, they were 9 seconds behind Liberty Seguros at the first check, and locked in battle with the best time here so far, which is T-Mobile. And look at this clock now, because they're going to be just about the same speed as T-Mobile here. They'll flick to the right. Look at the vision on the faces here. They have gone a second to the good. They're virtually going pedal for pedal with T-Mobile now, but Discovery have the lead. 47 minutes 14 seconds. T-Mobile 47 minutes 15 seconds as they go into the last 20 kilometers. Little look at the crowd here, Paul, as we look down at the boys who are picking up the pace now. Still all 9 men of T-Mobile, I beg your pardon, all 9 men of Discovery Channel are together. T-Mobile have lost a man. Tobias Steinhaus has been dropped. Situation of 45.8 kilometers with CSC still to get there. Discovery are leading by a second over T-Mobile, 14 over Liberty Seguros, 43 over Team Phonak, and it's Team Phonak, in fact, who are only 7th at the 25-kilometer point, who are making progress.
Phil, I have a funny feeling the turbo is now starting to kick in with Lance Armstrong. Did you see that very long turn he did on the front? That is now starting to pick the pace up. He knows now's the moment to lay down the law. He's used his team to absolute perfection up to this point, and now he's starting to do the slightly longer turns, giving them the advantage to recuperate, being in the slipstream for a few more seconds.
We're watching a machine in motion here. Lance gently slips back towards the rear. Watch every rider go by him. The wheel just centimeters away from the back wheel of the rider in front. Now Lance almost urging to go through again. He can't even slow down enough to get onto the back wheel here, as he wants to get back on. Now, cool as you like, a quick drink, and off we go forward. This is the previous pacemaker. He is coming back. Remember that T-Mobile are leading this. They've just gone through with best time now at the final check, which is 1:05:36. 20 seconds better than Liberty Seguros, who are in currently with the best time.
Well, again, that is probably going to be one of the best performances ever. Now, this is interesting. Now, look at this. This is the team of the yellow jersey, Dave Zabriskie, coming up. Team Discovery Channel have the best time at this point, but I have a feeling we're about to see a brand new best time come through from Team CSC.
Well, Bjorn Rees has put his reputation on this time trial, because, as I said, they brought Luke Roberts on board and they sacrificed Jacob Peel. He wants to win this time trial. They believe they can win it, and is this proof? Because David Zabriskie could be getting ready to celebrate another day in yellow as they come through. 47.14 to beat. There's not going to be a lot in it here. They are getting close to Discovery and T-Mobile, but for the moment, they're still 6 seconds in the bank. 47.08. Heading up towards the line is T-Mobile. It's going to be the best time. They've got to beat 1:11.32, but this is the drive by Jan Ulrich. Hits the line 1:11.40 when the time stops. They have set the best time, to a big round of applause. Now it's up to Floyd Landis in Phonak and Lance Armstrong in Discovery and Dave Zabriskie on CSC to match that. There's Big Jan. He'll be so much happier tonight than after his ride in the time trial. Alexander Vinokurov right alongside him as we switch out now to Team Phonak, who have just lost one of their riders. Beat Grabsch has been dropped. More trouble because Nicolas Jalabert has gone as well. Phonak are cracking under the pressure. There's no doubt now about that. Jalabert drops away. This is not good news for any of the prospective leaders on Phonak, least of all here Floyd Landis. They've now dropped 2, and Jalabert, I would have said, would have been one of the strong boys on this ride today, but they're cracking. And watch out in the hot seat. Alexander Moose is sitting here at the back and also looking as though he's under pressure.
Stage 4 was unfolding as promised. A head-to-head duel between CSC and Discovery. CSC had the early advantage, but the blue train is starting to haul. More after the break. Welcome back. This is Al Troutwig with you for the Tour de France Rest Day Show, bringing you the best action from the first 9 stages. Riders have the day off today, and racing resumes tomorrow, where we'll see who survives the first real mountain ride. Speaking of surviving, Survivor. It debuts July 24th, the day the Tour de France gets to Paris. Go back to the beginning, when reality TV was born. Survivor, July 24th on OLN. Surviving, a theme that is all too well known to Tour de France riders. The focus right now on just surviving the team time trial. Not always easy.
Phonak are heading up towards the finish. Well, look at this, Paul, now. Phonak coming up here. They're just about qualifying with the 5 riders. It's been a terrible day for them, but they're going to have to make the best of it now because they've got their top 3 men here, Santiago Botero, Floyd Landis, Oscar Pereiro. They have survived to stay up there, but it's placing that will give them the times. That's now Floyd Landis who's doing his best to bring them home, just like Levi Leipheimer was forced to do with Gerolsteiner. As they come up at the moment, it doesn't look too bad, does it? They've continued to improve despite the problems they have had. Phonak then, who really we thought would have been a top 3 team on the day, should get in top 3 team at the moment, but they will slip away as the teams Discovery and CSC come to the line. Here they come though. Floyd Landis, his face twisted in pain, hits the line. 3rd best so far for Phonak. So as we see here, the replay here of Floyd Landis, they've come in with a time of 1:12.10. Well, here they are at 1 kilometre to go now. 2 kilometres to go as they race under the banner, and we've got no further time on them at the moment except they are riding best time. It's 24 seconds. They've turned it around on T-Mobile. 1:05.12. That was a tremendous last 15 kilometres, Paul.
Well, that's what Armstrong had said, Phil, before the start of the race. It's all about the last 15 kilometres. You see how he was holding back in the first part of the course because he knew he needed to use the big engine to pull the team along towards the end. And again, they still have 9 riders. He really feels for this team. He really enjoys this effort. Way back since he raced on the Motorola squad and finished 2nd in the team time trial at the Tour de France, he has loved this discipline. He hasn't ridden so much with the team in competition in team time trials this year, but certainly he doesn't need to because this is a great squad, and it's as if Sheryl Crow is looking down on him, and I think she was a little bit nervous there.
She looks extremely worried. What's she got to worry about? This is a team where win or lose now stays right up at the leaderboard because the worst they're going to finish is 2nd because they're coming in with the best time. That's for sure. A little bit of a shuffle down there now as somebody's left the door open. Now they're all patching it up as they come towards the finish.
Big George on the front there, right-hand side with the white glasses. He swings off. He's waiting now for Pavel Padronos to come up and do the turn. T-Mobile recorded a time of 1:11.14, and Discovery Channel are going to go well inside of that. It's going to be a massive sprint up to the line, and Armstrong allowing the team to take him up to the finish line as they're all over the bike. That was Popovich just going through. Armstrong comfortably on the wheel of the pilot fishing cappy.
Now, will they be all smiles like we've seen the past 2 years? There is Lance. There's the time to 56.86 kilometres an hour by T-Mobile, and this is going to be even quicker than that. Lance is going to lead this Tour de France into retirement, having led his team to the fastest ever time trial in the history of the event. Here they come now, driving up to the line. Wait for the smile. What determination. 1:10.4, 57.31 kilometres an hour.
We now only have, Phil, as a hand goes back for congratulations there to Jose Acevedo. We only have 5 minutes to wait, and at the 6 to go sign, Team CSC still had a 2-second advantage on Discovery Channel.
That's the difference between Lance Armstrong and his fellow countryman Dave Zabriskie. How ironic is that? Because if it were to finish right now, he would have doubled his lead.
He would have doubled his lead, and that is the important thing. And look at this. The face of Sheryl Crow on the right-hand side is looking at Lance Armstrong, and she has now got to wait for around about 4 minutes for the arrival of this team. Red, black, and white. Team CSC.
So CSC was putting up the fastest splits, but it was soon to turn to disaster. All the action up next after the break. Al Troutwig. While the peloton rests for the day, we bring you highlights from the first 9 stages of the Tour de France. The glory, the heartbreak, and everything in between. Plenty of both of those in the team time trial. Here's the finale.
There is the yellow jersey on the far side wearing number 29, Dave Zabriskie. What a leader he has been since he won the first individual time trial on the island of Noirmoutier. They know what the results are here, Phil. They know what the finish line is. They know they only have one team to beat. They were 2 seconds to the better of Team Discovery Channel with 6 kilometers to go. They have only got 2 seconds to lose over this final 6-kilometer section.
Well, they may take some sort of solidarity in the fact that it looked a little bit ragged for Discovery in that last kilometre, but I have to say it doesn't look too good for this lot now. As we're watching here, these riders know, because Bjarne Riis will be saying, boys, the 2-second margin exists. You've got to sprint the last 3 miles of this race, because it is going to be as close as that, the blink of an eyelid. We have never had a team time trial like this in the Tour de France. They brought this back into the Tour in the year 2000, and it has given us some great excitement, but this one is heart attack material.
This is an unbelievable discipline. Now, I just see there, Phil, the sign which says 2 kilometers to go. Team CSC have got to get to the finish in 2 minutes. 2 minutes. They have to ride right now at 60 kilometers an hour, and with the corners, I don't think that's possible.
Well, Paul, look, number 21 is the leader of the team in the weeks ahead. That's Ivan Basso. It looks to me as though he's sitting at the back now. He's not so sure he can drive this group anymore. But the boy in yellow, Zabriskie, is itching to get through. He's such a strong man. This is very difficult through here now as we go through the S's and they approach the line. Remember, 2 seconds is the margin.
2 seconds is the margin.
And Zabriskie's gone. What has happened? He's overshot the bend. Total disaster. The yellow jersey has hit the bend. Well, that is it.
That is it, because he is no longer with the team. His teammate just behind him managed to get around him, but Dave Zabriskie has gone down very hard. He will not now be able to finish with the team. He will not get the same time as the team. So win or lose by Team CSC, he has lost the yellow jersey with that horrible crash at 1.5 kilometers to go.
And it was heavy. Look at his shorts, his jersey, the maillot jaune is solid. There's no 1 kilometer rule in a time trial. He will lose the time. The team will race on. They will get the time, but Zabriskie won't be just a couple of seconds down. He will now lose all of the time in real time as he races to the line. Let's bring home CSC, though. All of that training has gone to the wall now as they race up to the line. Discovery Channel 1:10:39. If they set best time, how ironic it will be as they come home, and I think they might have done, you know. It's a long way up this home straight at 1:10:39. They drive on now. Team CSC heading up towards the line. 39 is the time of Team Discovery Channel. It's still a little way to go. They may be just outside it. They've got 10 seconds to get up this straight. It is a long way. It is a vicious sprint, but I think they'll be the wrong side of 39 anyway. But it doesn't matter because the yellow jersey has passed the Lance Armstrong. They hit the line. The 2-second margin continues to haunt them. 1:10:41. It's the wrong way anyway. He would have lost it, but now he is going to slip out of the top 10 probably.
Phil, that is the most unbelievable team time trial I think I have ever witnessed in my life. That was very sad here for Team CSC with Dave Zabriskie going down that dramatically at 1.5 kilometers to go to the finish. His team kind of carried on, but Lance Armstrong will be in the yellow jersey this evening with a 2-second beating of Team CSC, but sadly the man who wore the yellow jersey crashed with 1.5 kilometers to go and couldn't finish with the team.
So poor David Zabriskie, the consolation, if there is one, he would have lost his lead anyway, but what we would have had was Lance Armstrong and Zabriskie equal first in the Tour de France. How incredible is that? As it is, it doesn't matter because he's coming home in his own time, losing time, and that welt on the side of his thigh is beginning to look rather ugly. Dave Zabriskie, don't feel ashamed because you almost did it. But at this time, I'm afraid the master has played the master stroke. Armstrong is back in the maillot jaune of the Tour de France.
And 3 straight wins over the last 3 years for Team US Postal Service, now Discovery Channel, as the yellow jersey crosses the line. It was a tough day for this young man. He's been a great leader of the bike race, and the crowd appreciate the courage. And I tell you what, Phil, as he rides past in front of us there, he looks as if he's going to be in a fair amount of pain tomorrow.
So Discovery edges CSC by just 2 seconds. No irony lost there. Jan Ullrich's T-Mobile team putting in a great ride for 3rd. Liberty Seguros in 4th. And Phonak, perhaps a little disappointing, in 5th. Zabriskie's crash cost him and his team dearly. The yellow goes to Armstrong, with not surprisingly his entire team ranked behind him in the top 10. If that doesn't give you a huge psychological boost, then we don't know what does. Here's what Armstrong had to say after the stage.
Well, it's hard when you start fast like that. It's completely flat, perfect pavement, tailwind. We knew the time differences wouldn't be great, and the race would be close. And just although we saw, somewhere along the way we were 10, 15 seconds down, we tried to stay tough and knew that the last part was a little tougher. And it's a hard event. But the team, I got to tell you, was unbelievable this year, and everybody rolled through. Everybody was great.
Won't soon forget the sight of David Zabriskie all alone, battered and bruised, coming across the finish line. We've heard how Bob felt. What about you guys? Paul, how about you? Don't you think CSC could have given one guy?
I didn't like it. I think if a man has worn the yellow jersey, you've got to give him credit for that. It didn't make any difference at all to the result. They still had 5 or 6 guys. They could have left one man there with Dave Zabriskie just to escort him home. After all, that was a pretty hard crash.
I think it would probably done him the honour of leaving a rider to bring him in. He's never going to win the Tour de France, so he had to be expendable. And the man who possibly could win the Tour de France, Ivan Basso, they couldn't afford to give any time away. But for the shunt, I'm pretty sure they'd have won the team time trial because they only had to lose half a second, and they certainly lost that just thinking about what happened. It's a heck of a hard call now. And don't forget, you guys are biased. He's American. We're all right, aren't we?
You're all right.
That's a shot.
Discovery did a great ride. I have to say,
they did.
Like they did last year. They started slowly, 15 seconds down at the first time check, then slowly but surely they ate back the whole time. I think that was probably one of the best team time trials I have ever had to commentate on.
And Bob, almost immediately, Lance doesn't know what to do with the yellow jersey. Talked the next morning about giving it up, and we're going to see in these next few stages in this Rest Day show exactly how that didn't play out for a while.
Yes, having the jersey from that point forward is a daunting prospect. Lance Armstrong would love to see one of the riders close by on GC and not a danger man for the overall. Take the jersey, a little bit of pressure off the Discovery team. Didn't happen that way, though.
We're going to take a break in our Rest Day coverage of the 2005 Tour de France as we head toward the Alps. Our complete recap of what we've seen so far continues after this. This is Al Troutwig with the Tour de France Rest Day show. 9 stages of highlights as the peloton takes a well-earned rest day in Grenoble. Up next, Stage 5. Lance Armstrong still in yellow. But it's back to the sprinters. Robbie McEwen, punished in the last stage, and the gutsy Aussie will have something to say about that. We'll take a closer look at the Lotto rider.
Once a former junior Australian BMX champion, Robbie McEwen has shown that his love for the bike and his need for speed were more than just a childhood dream. Switching to road racing in the 90s, McEwen wasted no time in finding his niche as a sprinter and was competing in the 96 Summer Olympics by the age of 24. From there, the Aussie began to rack up stage wins at every well-known international race pro cycling had to offer. In 1999, 2 years after he entered his first Tour de France, he accomplished the ultimate sprinter's dream by taking his first Tour win on the last stage in Paris, on the hallowed streets of the Champs-Élysées. He continued to find success at the Tour, and in 2002, he slipped on the green jersey in Paris, the most coveted jersey a sprinter could ever don. Last year, he added 2 more stage wins and another podium in Paris sporting green. This year, the goal won't be very much different. 33-year-old McEwen is a fighter. Some might even say a bit of a bully in the last seconds of a mad dash to the line. He never backs down and he never gives an inch. But in a sprint finish, there's no room to play Mr. Nice Guy. After 5 Tour de France stage wins and 100 wins in his career, Robbie Hustle has found a way to the top, is not by making friends, but by making moves.
So McEwen is the guy to watch. Let's watch the action.
There's a lot of movement going on in this peloton. Good organisation by Française des Jeux, but the bulk of the work is being done by Tom Boonan's Quick Step team.
And Armstrong now has dropped away from the head of this race and slipped down a little bit. We're on the charge into Montargis. Ooh, that was close to barriers. Here's the first left-hander. Now we follow with the right-hander. This is the snake. It's a very, very nasty approach. Look at the way they've hit the barriers. A whole bunch of them. Now Armstrong wasn't far away from that, but he's gone. He's up and away, but these boys are out. They'll get back in. Let's have another look at that, Paul. Look at the overshoot there.
This was a very dramatic corner at 4 kilometers to go, which is why Armstrong was riding right at the front end. Now, if you look over to the right-hand side of the picture, there is the yellow jersey of Armstrong, safely surrounded. That's Matty White, who's gone down there. No, it's not. It's Tomback.
Tomback, I think, yes, Yannick Tomback, but even so, it's a Cofidis boy. He'll sort his chain out. He's a lead-out man for O'Grady, and he's left to ride home now, losing time. That wasn't the worry for him. It's the fact he's okay. That's all that matters. The crowd continue to cheer them on. We lose a few, but we carry on racing, and we've still got that horrible right-hander to come. This is Sinkovic now driving at the front.
3 kilometers to go. You can see Santiago Botero moving up. There's Matty White at the front end of the main field. He really does look like Tomback on his bike, but Armstrong is through there safely. So is Jan Ulrich. So is the majority of the other riders who are riding for an overall victory at the end of 3 weeks. It is so important to keep out of danger on a day like this. Armstrong now has slipped down there to around about 30th place. He won't get involved in the scrap and the fighting at the front end to try and win the stage, but over on the left, big organisation in the white jerseys. This is Française des Jeux. They want to try and get Baden Cook up there, and I wonder if Cookie and Bernard Eisel have got themselves sorted out, because over the last couple of days they haven't really known which man to work for. We are now looking at the 1 kilometre to go kite, and once they go past there, Phil, they will be lining up for this very dangerous corner at 500 metres to go.
And they are now 400 metres from that 1 kilometre, and this is where the dodginess of this stage starts. There's the right-hander. They're absolutely flying through here. We're gently downhill, but they're safe at the moment. Now, anybody who doesn't want to get involved better get out of this one, because we're heading into the narrow streets. There's a cobble section as we head up to the kite. There's the kite. 1 kilometre to go.
Matty White has swung off. There he is on the right-hand side. Job done for the day. He's looking to see whether Stewie O'Grady's going to come up with the goods. It's Bradley McGee on the front. This is what he wants to do. Cookie's up there into 3rd place, but so too is the green jersey. And there is Tor Hushoff, the Crédit Agricole rider, over on the left-hand side. And still, Phil, I cannot see Robbie McEwen. This is the corner we're talking about.
And they made it safely, much to my amazement. They have turned up now. It's an uphill finish. And Baden Cook has got himself right in the place here. Armstrong safe in that back. Watch out for the 3rd wheel, the 3rd man in white. Baden Cook is now 2nd. Here comes the lead out for Tom Bonan. While Cookie hasn't got it, Bonan is tucked over to our left, and he's got the man on his wheel there from Australia. McEwen is behind. This is still the lead out, but it's going to be now for Eisel. But here comes the lead out for Bonan. Bonan goes. McEwen chases him down, and now the green jersey again has hit the front. O'Grady is out of it. Here comes McEwen. He's got the legs this time. Robbie McEwen is forced to the line and takes it. That's revenge for you.
Oh, look at that salute by Robbie McEwen. That was not to the crowd. That was to the referees to say, guys, I can win these sprints. That was great revenge for Robbie McEwen after being relegated from 3rd place in their stage into Tours. And what a sprint by Robbie McEwen. We did say, Phil, before the start that he would enjoy that little corner at 500 metres to go.
This is when weight perhaps isn't so much, but it was uphill. But this guy can guide himself through a minefield, and he's done that. Look at the face behind on Stuart O'Grady as well. Boy, McEwen does send them at us sometimes, and this was one of his best. Yes, we know, Robbie. It was pretty good, wasn't it?
It's amazing what a little motivation does. McEwen takes it over Boonen and Hushoff. The GC remains the same. Armstrong ahead of Hincapie, Voigt, and Julich. Stage 6 would throw a spinner in the works. Highlights and the dramatic climax to that stage next. Welcome back to the Tour de France Rest Day Show. This is Al Troutwick, piloting you through the highlights of the first 9 stages. We're up to stage 6. Here's the action.
Showing 13, but they're saying on race radio 11 seconds is now the gap as he makes another successful turn. And these turns will help him because the peloton slows as he scurries into the centre of this beautiful city of Nancy. Doesn't look so nice in the rain. Now, as the bunch all got round this one safely, they're not taking any chances today after overshooting yesterday. But you know, Montjean, oh, there they are. This is such an incredible chase by the bunch. He is going to come up now to the last couple of kilometres, and he's going to still hold a very, very slight lead.
These long kilometres right now will not be good for Christophe Montjean because the main field will be able to judge the distance they are behind him. But it seems as if there is no organisation now by the sprinters. It's all over. This is Alexander Vinokourov is going for it.
That's a crafty little move by a man who could win the Tour de France. He's tried to liven it all up here for T-Mobile squad. Remember, they're going home in the next couple of days. They're a German-sponsored team at 1.3 miles to go. We are now at 2 kilometres from the finish. Vinokurov has taken it up.
And he's still got 10 seconds lead. You can see the darkness in the back there. That is the main field. They're charging through the streets of Nancy. They're less than 50 metres, and Alexander Vinokurov, Phil, is getting himself halfway across the gap. I'm not sure who he's trying to lead out for Team Mobile, but there it is. He's got the gap. He's got the gap over the front end of the main field. Clever rider.
Oh, well, this is such a typical move by Vinokurov. Looking from the helicopter now, the first picture there we can see he's going to hit the kilometre probably ahead, and then Vinokurov is going to join in. There's more help on the way. The peloton have not got a hold of this race yet.
I hope he doesn't hesitate like he did on the final stage of Paris-Nice. As soon as he catches Mangin, he has to go straight over the top. Otherwise, he's going to get caught up by the acceleration of the sprinters.
Well, somewhere above us, we will see 1 kilometre to go. Christophe Mangin has seen the 2 riders catch him now. He will have to take a deep breath and try and work with them. There's the kilometre kite. There are now 3 riders. What a dramatic finish this is. Oh, and he's gone. He's overshot. Vinokurov skids and misses him. There's another crash, a massive pile-up on that bend, and that is going to give the victory to the breakaway. They just lost their concentration here. But it looks as though Armstrong again on the late crash has gone through on the inside with all the skills. I'm trying to nail this rider, Paul, but it looks like a rider. Is it from Fassa Bortolo? It is. It's not Fabian Cancellara, I don't think, but it's a big rider. It could be Kim Kirk, and this of Luxembourg is clear. We pull back from the shadows of the arch on Stanislav Square, and now the rate, and there is Robbie McEwen. He's down, picking up the bits, and there is the fallen Christophe Mangin. What a way to end the day here. As we need to cut back to the beginning here. He looks okay, a little bit stunned. Gerard Port, the doctor, is there as well. This rider, whoever he is about to win the stage. Vinokurov skidded, missed the crash, and is coming again. The champion of Kazakhstan, and the legs on that big man, I've got a feeling it might be Kim Kirken. That's who we're going for. He has got the victory on the line. It's not Kim Kirken, but he's got the victory on the line, and Vinokurov gets a second, and the rider who's won is Lorenzo Bernucci of Italy.
Well, that was an unbelievably timed move by Bernucci coming across there. It really was an incredible move as well. There is Lance Armstrong, but I think, Phil, if we look back at the results, the referees will give everybody there the same time. Armstrong in that group, not showing any emotion at all on his face. That crash was well inside the last kilometre of racing, well inside the last 3 kilometres of racing. So I feel sure that the judges will give everybody here the same time. Very sad, though, for Christophe Mangin to come down so close to the finish.
Yeah.
And the 2 sprinters, too, involved, Robbie McEwen and Bonin.
They both crashed. They're shaking heads. They're talking to each other. The man who has won has never won a race in his life, but don't take it. I don't mean that he didn't deserve it. He most certainly did. He took his chance. He was already clear when the crashes happened. He had great skill to go around the falling Mangin, and Lorenzo Bernucci there wins the day. And that is a huge result for him. But the sprinters sit here and chat on the ride in. There's no hurry home, where because of where they fell, they were with the leaders. They will be given the time of the main field. So they're not really worried about time, but they'll be fed up with the fact that they have not had chance to take part in the stage sprint.
So the win went to Lorenzo Bernucci, his first stage win as a pro. Vinokurov takes second, and Mangin, who crashed, given the time of the riders he was with. He's placed third. So our first change to the general classification for the yellow jersey. Vinokurov gained 7 seconds on the field and took 12 seconds for finishing second. He moves up to third in the GC, now just 62 seconds behind Lance Armstrong. We hope for no more crashes like this one as we journey to stage 7. The peloton goes into Germany. All the highlights after the break. This is Al Trawick. Welcome back to OLN's Tour de France Rest Day Show. All the best highlights from the first 9 stages of the Tour. Why no racing today? Well, the riders have their first of 2 rest days. Remember where we started on the west coast of France? Well, we're up to stage 7, and we've traversed across the country and are ending up in Germany this time. Would a German make a bid for glory? Here's how it turned out.
Now, just moments ago, we're looking back at the start here. There was a minute's silence observed after the terrorist bombings in London, the loss of life there, and the riders now settling in. There's 187 of them in the peloton. The rollout here, white flag waves, gets underway. It's a long way today, 142 miles. It's going to keep them in the saddle. It's very humid, funny enough, today. And at the first sprint, it was a little bit of interest here because Leon van Bon, the champion of Holland, gets it. Dekker was second, but look at that. In the distance, Thor Hushovd gets 2 points. He's now very much a solid chaser of Tom Boonen in second place. Out on the climbs, Fabian Weckmann, not surprisingly a German, in the thick of the action. 3 ahead of the former King of the Mountains, Thomas Voigtler, after day 2, and Stefan Ogier, who was trying to take the lead. Well, he was up there at the moment, but then Weckmann got away from them all on the third climb. Weckmann first here. Those 4 points now has confirmed him as the next leader of the King of the Mountains. So, Paul, the Germans at least have a man on the podium when they come down to the finish today. There could be new names on the sprinters block today because they're all fancying their chances. There's no curly bends and rain falling. There's no chance of a fall, I don't think, unless they cause it themselves. And I think that Cancellara is the man who's attempting to be the final winner for Fassa Bortolo. He's right at the tail of the lead-out men at 3 kilometres to go. There's the green jersey, centre about 15 riders back. And now there's a change of order at the front. This is the big difference now when there's no certain winner. All of the teams believe they can deliver their man to the line. From our point of view, this makes a one terrific finish.
It is so dangerous when it's like this, though, because not one team can control the main field. Not one team can string them out like a Mario Cipollini's team or Alessandro Petacchi's team, but that is exactly what Frances de Gerve now decided to do. You can be sure that in third position there is Bradley McGee, trying to set up, I would think today, Bernard Eisel, who's been so good over the last couple of sprints. It is in third place, Bradley McGee.
Yep.
On his wheel is Bernard Eisel, but there's a whole host of other sprinters still queuing up, and it looks to me right now as if you look there in about 15th place, the green jersey is a long way back.
But he has been in the past and he's delivered at the line. Carlos de Cruz is the Frances de Gerve man. Again, the workhorse at the moment, under 2 kilometres to go. This is a great road for a pure sprinter. There are no bends. It is simply who is the fastest man in the Tour de France and who is going to deliver now as Leaky Gas take it over to the left now. Don't forget, on Leaky Gas, Pagliarini is a big sprinter. There's a rush down the outside. There's a change in the middle. Carlos de Cruz is no longer the leader under that bridge. Where have they gone?
There they go, out of the bridge, out into the open, and they're still now looking to see where is going to be the kilometre sign, but there's a bit of confusion at the front. Look at those arms, and somebody's leaning right over there trying to make a move in that middle, trying to keep his space clear, and I think that in fact was Pagliarini looking for the line. 2 lines now. Licky Gas over on the left-hand side. You could see Frances de Gerve were losing the line, so they're moving across into the middle of the road. Still, Bradley McGee is waiting for the last moment. He's the kind of rider who's got a great leader, but look at Boonen right up there, moving up through the middle onto the tail there of Jan Kirsipuu in the black, blue and white jersey. The champion of Estonia's got Thor Hushovd right on his wheel.
Boonen rides at this minute in 12th position in this pack from the helicopter. The Leaky Gas boys still feel the confidence in Pagliarini because they've got to control the front of the bunch. Toe 2 for Thor Hushovd here. Off to the left is Bradley McGee now, and locked on his wheel is Baden Cook. That's the big Australian double. That's McGee in the white. McCook is behind him at second and third to those boys. This is going to be one terrific rush for the line. Robert Foster's trying to get in for Gerolsteiner now. Thor Hushovd is moving up as they start to fan across the road. They're looking for 1 kilometre to go.
They're still looking. In fact, they've come inside. There's 500 metres to go. We've gone bowling past the 1 kilometre sign. McGee has got Cookie on his wheel, but there's a big launch coming from Kirsipuu in the middle and Thor Hushovd.
Kirsipuu is the rider in blue as McGee tries to deliver Baden Cook to the line here. It's going to have to be a big sprint. Still a lot to do for Tom Boonen as Cook goes on the left. And McEwen time, there's a crash in the middle. That was a very nasty fall. Now it's McEwen coming through on the left. McEwen being challenged by Boonen. Boonen gets the line. It's not Tom Boonen.
McEwen.
McEwen.
He came through on the inside.
We'll wait for the photo.
So Robbie McEwen matches Tom Boonen with 2 stage wins. Boonen out of it. Second place went to Big Magnus Backstedt, with Bernard Eisel in third. Fortunately for the GC candidates, all those sprinters are ranked way back, so the overall ranking remains unchanged. Armstrong in the lead after just 23 hours of racing. Hincapie, his teammate, still second, and Alexander Vinokurov in third. Stage 8, however, had the first real mountains, and that could change the GC in a big way. Find out how it unfolded after the break. Troutwig, hope you're enjoying our rest day look back at the first 9 stages of this year's Tour de France. We're up to stage 8 with the first big climbs. With all eyes on Lance Armstrong, let's take a look at how he got here this season.
Lance's debut for his new team sponsor, Discovery Channel, began in March at the 7-day stage race Paris-Nice in France. After a poor showing in the opening prologue, Lance was sluggish on the bike, and he abandoned the race just 3 days later. Lance's ever-present cynics emerged yet again, and a cloud of doubt followed Armstrong's name in the news. A month later, Lance was back in the States for the Tour de Georgia. Before the race kicked off, the world was made clearly aware of Lance's future plans.
The Tour de France will be my last race as a professional cyclist.
The announcement meant the Tour de Georgia would be Lance's last race on American soil. Unfortunately for Lance's fans, his form was still not quite up to scratch, and he finished in 5th place overall. The final pre-tour contest was his traditional entry into the mini Tour de France, the Dauphiné Libéré. After finishing 5th in the opening 8 kilometres prologue time trial, the true test of Lance's time trialling form came with a long 46-kilometre test on stage 3. While Lance has grown accustomed to dominating the event against the clock, he came up short-handed this time, settling for a 3rd place finish, 26 seconds off the pace of former world champion Santiago Botero. His last and maybe not telling pre-tour evaluation came courtesy of the climb of the legendary Mont Ventoux. Losing to one of his rivals, Alexander Vinokourov, had people wondering if the Texan had lost a step.
I suffered a lot, and I have to say I'm a little disappointed with the way I felt, but maybe I'm still a little bit heavy, so I had to lose a few pounds.
While it's difficult to draw a conclusion on Lance's progress based on his performance this season, it is notable to point out that it's the first time in his career he's come to the Tour without a single win. 4th place overall in the Dauphiné was, ironically, the same position he finished a year ago at the same event, which led people to doubt he was strong enough to win the Tour de France. We all know how that turned out.
That's how Lance got here, and stage 8 was the test of whether only 19 days of racing was the correct preparation for a run at a 7th title. Let's take a look.
As we look here at the leaders, these are coming out of the front of the group here. Vinokourov, the little terror, is in 3rd place. He is looking for the move now. This could be where he is planning an attack. And look at Lance. Lance Armstrong is not going to let him out of his sight this time. Vinokourov, the acceleration has forced Armstrong to come out and play.
Well, that's Salvadelli trying to nail down the gap. Armstrong not panicking, but Vinokourov true to his word. He really is the dark invader, isn't he? He's looking to try and see if there's any weakness in Armstrong's armour.
What a super bike rider. He's always taking the race to himself, and haunting him just behind there is also Jan Ullrich. Here comes an attack now from Christophe Moreau. They may not chase him with such enthusiasm.
Well, they're not too worried about Christophe Moreau as he goes inside of the 20-kilometre to go banner, because he's a man who... Now, another move here by Alexander Vinokourov. He's going again.
Just what he wants, somebody else to draw the sting, and he's gone. And this time, no. Forget it. This time Lance has reacted like last time.
This time it's Armstrong himself in person chasing everybody down. And look at that. They've caught the group of 3 riders who are halfway across the gap. And I tell you what, it looks as if there's a little bit of daylight there in between Alexander Vinokourov and Lance Armstrong. He's taking his time to pull this one back.
Well, one Antonio Fletcher has had the legs to try and join in there. He's jumped onto the back. The others have gone off. But Christophe Moreau joined by Alexander Vinokourov. What a great bike racer he really is. He's not going to take defeat lying down at all. Armstrong is very, very wise there. He may have lost 19 seconds on the road to Nancy, but he's going to mark that boy now.
Yeah, but Big Jan is there as well. He's right on the tail of Lance Armstrong. You can just see the pink jersey moving up. He's being very attentive. And there's a rider moving in there from Ile Baleares. I think that is Mancebo.
1, 2, 3 to Armstrong, 4 to Ullrich. Ullrich knows these climbs. He trains in them, or has trained in them during his maturity years. A top bike rider. He's not living too far away. Armstrong, it's already looking like a very select little group, this. And all of the hard work by Ile Baleares, that'll be Valverde, who is in 4th wheel.
They really have scattered this field. There's a couple of riders from Team Phonak now trying to come and scramble across the gap. Well, it's great to see Alejandro Valverde covering these moves, and that is why Il Baleares was so aggressive. He's a good bike rider, Alejandro Valverde. He's 3.5 minutes down in the overall classification. I'm sure they won't chase him down.
Well, they certainly have shut off. Lance certainly hasn't chased him down because Lance wants to keep the two riders there. But look at Vinokurov, gone again. And immediately Armstrong forced to react. He was watching there, Jan Ullrich and Vinokurov, saying, well, boys, you're doing the riding today. I'm doing the following. Which one of you is going next? Here comes Vino straight over the top of Valverde. This is Alejandro Valverde's first Tour de France. He must think they do this every time they come to this race.
He's on a fast learning curve here at the Tour de France, Phil. He's come here for the first time. I was amazed when he won a race in Paris-Nice at the start of the season. It was the first time he'd actually won a race outside of Spain or Portugal. But he certainly has. There's Cadel Evans moving up there as well. Now this is another move. Now this is Andreas Kloden. Who would have believed that?
Well, I certainly wouldn't have believed it because he was riding so badly in the Dauphiné Libéré, and this has got to be a tentative. I can't believe his form has become from nothing to absolutely magnificent in 12 days. But at the moment, Kloden has found his legs, and up comes the reaction. And the rider from Rabobank there is Denis Menchov, who's gone forward as well.
Well, Kloden a fair way down in the overall standings, almost 2.5 minutes behind Lance Armstrong. He started the day in 24th. We talked about the triptych, the trio of riders who could attack, and Armstrong now being attacked by Basso. Everybody seems to want to go up the road.
Basso has gone. Armstrong is watching them sprint around. He's still sitting by Jan Ullrich. Not sure he's getting such a good idea now. Ullrich is going to have to catch up as well. This is an amazing showdown. I never expected this on the climb today. Look at this man, he's tongue locked into the right-hand side of his mouth there, concentrating, eyes just staring at the summit and giving himself a feeling they are drawing me in as we go underneath this little overhang here. And as that group is, funnily enough, is getting bigger rather than smaller right now, so they may have slowed down a bit. This will be good for the leader.
If they've slowed down, Phil, it's only a fraction, because look how long that group is. The pressure is really on. The attacks are coming again thick and fast. It really is a lot of pressure. We can see here the man just coming out of the back of the group, Juan Antonio Fletcher. Not really a surprise. He was in the breakaway nearly all day.
Paying for the price, but he's nearly at the summit and may descend quite well. And Kloden has gone on. He's going to try and outsprint him. He didn't know he was coming, and he's going to really kick himself for that, because look at that, 10 metres from the line. Kloden is over first.
And Kloden is going to be the polka dot jersey leader of the King of the Mountains classification tonight with 20 points. And Rasmussen, I don't think, will be too happy about that.
No, because he would have thought he'd done enough today, and it's all swung around. Well, I can't believe that. The man who was second in last year's Tour de France, showed no form at all this year, is now the next man in the polka dot jersey, and looking rather good just now. The two riders over the top together. Now it's full bore down to Gerard Mer.
There's the red kite, 1,000 metres.
And there's the little rise which takes them up to the finishing line in the far distance here. Well, this is a skillful tactic by the rider from Holland. He's learnt an awful lot in just a week in his first Tour de France. He stopped working with the leader. He's going to just wait and take the risk of them catching up. Kloden is racing for time. He's thinking of the future in the Tour de France. Wienen is thinking of about 800 metres in the Tour de France. And that will be his first ever stage win. And I'll take my hat off to Kloden. He's not made any effort to force the other rider through.
No, he knows that what he's got to do is ride for time. It's so important for him this afternoon. He's going to move himself up. It's 30 seconds back to the main group. So it's one of these two riders is going to win the stage.
They've got it. Now, Wienen is obviously going to come out of the slipstream. He'll be the fresher of the two. He made the move right at the base of the Col de la Schlucht, and he stayed away until Kloden stole the prize off him 10 metres from the top. And now he's forced the German rider to open up the sprint. He's going to have to wait. Oh, has he got it? Look at the look in his eye. He's got this. He'll move round him at the very last minute. Which side's he going to go? Now here he comes. His first ever victory in his first ever... Oh, did he get it, Paul? I don't know.
Well, that's a photo, Phil. That is a photo. Side by side, those riders were as they came across the line, and I don't think either of them knew who got the win.
Jörg Jatsk on the far right of our picture here. Cadel Evans on the far left in the red jersey. Vinokurov is looking for the time bonus. There's a third-place time bonus at stake as he starts to come out and attack. Here, Christoph Borough comes on the right, Valverde, and also Jens Voigt, and he's been washed away. Vinokurov, I think it's going to be Valverde who gets third on the line, and a very small time bonus. There's the sprint, though. Just watch the white line. Yes, he gets it by a thousandth of a second before Cloden hits it. And he knew it, too. Just look at his face here. I hadn't realised just how close this line was because of the tight camera shot. And he left it almost too late because he started his sprint well enough. But watch the push of the bicycle. Ouch! That's what got him the victory. Now, I'd love to see the photo finish, and I'm not so sure whether we can't show it to you. Oh, we can. Look at this now. Well, wait for it. Well, you know, I am not sure who has won that. Looks almost like a dead heat, but the judges have given it to the rider nearest the camera.
So Peter Weening takes his first pro win by a margin of 0.2 of a second. Cloden in second, and Valverde the best of the rest. So after all the action on the final climb, and despite having no teammates to help, Lance Armstrong defended his position and remained atop the rankings. Jens Voigt moved to second, with Vinokurov in third, and American Bobby Julich in fourth. What did Lance think of all that?
Lance, it was only a Category 2, but it certainly seemed to bring out the chess game today. What was your mindset as you first withstood and then brought back those attacks by Vino?
Well, I think we all knew that was going to happen. At least we had a strong suspicion. It's tough on a climb like that. That's 4% average, and the speed's very high. A lot of guys can stay on, so when you keep 20, 30, 40 guys there, then they're able to alternate attacks. And you know, for whatever reason, I was left alone. We just had a bad day as a team, and that makes it that much harder having to cover some moves by the moves by yourself. So we have some talking to do tonight amongst all of us, not just the guys, but I didn't feel great either. So you know, sit down with Johan and see what the problem is.
That's one dinner invitation I would not like to accept. Need a break after all that? Join us in a moment for Stage 9 and the first big mountains of the 2005 Tour. This is Al Troutwig. Welcome back to the Rest Day Show. All the best action from the first 9 stages. While the peloton takes a rest today, sit back and enjoy the finishing kilometers of Stage 9.
Lance Armstrong had a word with his team last night after they didn't finish with him. Straight away, there was attacks from the gun today, and then sadly came the first crash 4 kilometers down the road. Igor Gonzalez de Galdiano was out of the Tour in that crash. Then came the attack from Jens Voigt, a ripper it was, off the front of the bunch, looking perhaps for a yellow jersey, but ahead of him already on the road, Michael Rasmussen had gone away and was taking all of the climbs, one after another. One rider did reach him later on, Dario Cioni. But that crash to Igor Gonzalez de Galdiano, he did try to get back on his bike almost immediately. He was off it again. He is now out of the Tour de France. He simply couldn't make it. More trouble out on the highway on the descent of the second climb. A certain Jan Ulrich crashed on the descent. His team were told to stop. They're not allowed to ride against the race to go and look after him. They have to wait for him to come to them. He did come to them. Tobias Steinhauser there with him. There's the blood on his thigh, and they got him back into the race. But there was another sadness too, especially for the Americans, because the first American winner of Stage 1, David Zabruski, who was behind by 51 minutes yesterday, hasn't recovered from his crash in the team time trial, dropped very early on at a rapid start out of the Tour de France today. On to the next climb. Rasmussen was ahead and gone. This is the chase for third place. Christophe Moreau is driving on the chase group. Discovery Channel got the race back together here and then took it by the scruff of the neck and started to just set the tempo, getting the team confidence after they took a knock yesterday. Meanwhile, on top of the Grand Ballon, where Dario Cioni was up there. No, this is the Col de Bramont. Dario Cioni sitting back while Rasmussen gets more King of the Mountains points. But Rasmussen waits. Then, as we got down to the sprint town, that's Hussein Vesseling. That was the Grand Ballon, by the way. We're now looking at Dario Cioni at the feeding station. Out goes one more rider in the shunt with Salvatore Camesso. This was a great shame because this was Gomez Marcante, who has gone out of his first Tour de France looking like a broken collarbone there. Meanwhile, on the climb of the Col de Buisson, taking us to 73 kilometers from the finish, Dario Cioni could not hold his friend anymore, and Michael Rasmussen left with no choice but to push on alone, and that's exactly what he's doing right now.
It's a big chase now for Jens Voigt. Look at the power there. He's rolling the top half of his body, trying to find as much power as he can to stay at least 38 seconds off the front of Lance Armstrong's group. If he finishes in third place, he needs to finish 42 seconds ahead of the yellow jersey group. I think he's got enough in hand to do that.
Look at these two now, desperate. A little word now, a little nod. Do we work together? I wonder what Morrow said then, but they both agreed, and it was to get on with it, I think, and probably saying, look, no finessing, let's race for the line. Well, what a great moment. His second Tour de France. He did nothing but finish 14th last year. We hardly mentioned him. This year he's back. Leader of the King of the Mountains yesterday. Today a winner of the stage. He can stand by to enjoy this, throw away a few seconds and wave to the crowd. It has been an exhibition of terrific bike riding over all of the mountains of this region in first place. He won all the prizes along the route except one small prize. He gave that to the rider who dared to join him for a short distance, and then he dispatched him back to the field. It's a little bit of a lonely ride, but he should start to feel good pretty much now as this massive crowd in Mulhouse cheer him all the way home.
It's a corridor of noise that this rider is going through, urging him up to the finishing line. They realise how brave this man has been here this afternoon. They realise what an effort he's had to put in to survive off the front on a very difficult day through the Vosges.
For nearly 4.5 hours, they've watched him on the television at the finishing line. Now they can see him in person as he salutes the crowd. He gets his first ever stage win. He could not have imagined that was the way it was going to be when he left around midday today from the town of Jaromir. We drive up to the finishing line now. I don't think Jens is going to even try to go by him as they come to the line. Christophe Moreau, the Frenchman, has certainly found his old form again. They used to be teammates, as Paul has said. They're now rivals, but I think today they're teammates again. As they come up to the line, 3 minutes has passed by on the clock, and Christophe Moreau takes second. Voigt is third. The clocks have started now. Let's wait for Armstrong. Well, this is the sprint now. There's a bunch are in town here, and it's going to be a desperate finish because Stuart O'Grady, one of the men in the green jersey competition, has got back into the group. The others haven't. Hushoft, Boonen and McEwen are not here. He's going to make the most of this. He will get fourth on the stage, a massive points. That will move him up the overall classification. That's a big score for Stuart O'Grady. But the hot news is Lance Armstrong is out of the yellow jersey, and Jens Voigt is the next leader of the Tour de France.
So Rasmussen, who attacked with just 2 miles covered in Stage 9, stays away for his first Tour de France stage win. Christophe Moreau was second, and Jens Voigt was third. It's the rest day, so after 9 stages in the Tour, here is the general classification presented by Foster's. Jens Voigt with a fabulous finish to Stage 9. His partnership with Christophe Moreau actually helped them both. So Voigt is in yellow, then Moreau, and Lance Armstrong well within attacking range in the mountains at 2:18 behind. Alexander Vinokurov stays the same amount of time behind Lance Armstrong in 5th. Then you've got Bobby Julich, Ivan Basso, Jan Ullrich, Carlos Sastre, and George Hincapie, Lance Armstrong's teammate, definitely part of the mix. After that, we move to 11th, and Andreas Kloden, who burst onto the scene. Floyd Landis of Phonak, Vladimir Karpitz, the top young competitor so far, then Yaroslav Popovich, who did wear the white jersey, and then Santiago Botero of Phonak. Well, that's our recap of the 9 stages so far. It is must-watch TV in the Tour on Tuesday morning, Tuesday night in primetime, obviously Wednesday as well, as we finally hit the mountains. Alps first in an odd year. What do you think is going to happen? Big-time climbs.
Big-time climbs. We're in the Alps, favourite hunting ground of the climbers. I think the Spanish riders will attack. Roberto Heras looks to be riding very well and hasn't made a move yet. Iban Mayer, well, he's in his usual place, so far away we need binoculars, so he's got to come forward now and try and win a stage. Courchevel, it'll all happen on the climb, I think, on the first day in the Alps, because it's a long climb. The riders have to get used to this type of racing now for the next few days. I don't think they'll commit suicide early on.
Lance Armstrong's strategy is attacking the mountains, obviously. Does it come in the Alps, or do we have to wait?
I think we're going to have to wait until the race gets up into the Galibier. The Galibier is going to push the heights of the Alps to new summits. And don't ever forget, the descent away from the Galibier is wrong. I think we're going to have a fantastic day in the Alps. It's going to be difficult, but don't actually forget about the day after the race down to Briançon. Lance Armstrong actually said he went and looked at that. It's a lot harder than people think. I think Armstrong is going to go out to the Alps in yellow.
What's your view on things?
3 proper days in the big mountain climbs, the riders reaching deep into their suitcase of courage to find the strength to climb to Courchevel and the sacred heights of the Galibier down to Briançon, of course, another hard stage. Thereafter, that doesn't include the Pyrenees at all, to come later in the tour.
Very good.
That'll wrap up our coverage of Rest Day. It's the first of 2. We've got a lot of great cycling to come. Let's look at where we're headed in the Tour de France. Tomorrow, the race begins again from Grenoble with mountains action as we begin crossing the south of France. And that means some hot days are promised there. The action takes us to the Pyrenees and the mountain finishes of Aix-Trois-Damans and Pla d'Adet and the Aubisque stage in stage 16 before the second Rest Day, this time in Pau. Then a short journey up to Saint-Etienne for the race's final time trial stage. And then Paris and the famous cobbles of the Champs-Élysées. Well, that brings you up to date for the start of stage 10 tomorrow. 120 miles from Grenoble to Courchevel. More big mountains and perhaps Lance back in yellow at day's end. Catch all the action live right here on OLN at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time, 5:30 a.m. Pacific, with primetime coverage at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 9 p.m. Pacific. Thanks for watching. Join us tomorrow. See you then.